Welcome back to the channel, guys, and today we're going to be talking about an interesting topic. I found an article today. It is a very old article from 2020, but I think it still holds true today, and the article is titled "The Dangerous Rise of Men Who Won't Date Woke Women." Now, we're going to read portions of this article. I've highlighted the parts that I think are important, and we'll talk about it, and I'll also give you guys some other examples of where we're trending, where we're going as a society in the Western world. Now, before we waste too much time, let's go ahead and get right to it. So, the article is titled Dangerous Rise of Men Who Won't Date Woke Women by Vicky Spratt. I already went over the article, so we wouldn't waste too much time reading this. At the very beginning of the article, she has a lot of like grammatical mistakes, so I'll try my best to go ahead and fix it. But it starts with the word irrespective means saying or doing something without taking anything else into account. For example, irrespective of the fact that the cost of living has jumped, putting pressure on many people, the government plowed on with Brexit and argued that there would be no real economic impact. So it is fitting that white man of the moment, Lawrence Fox, who appeared on BBC's Question Time program and told a BME audience member that Meghan Markle has not been on the receiving end of racism, appearing on the cover of the Sunday Times to tell the world that he does not date woke women. And there's a reason why, and we will talk about it. Not necessarily why he won't date woke women, but why men are choosing not to date woke women. Lawrence Fox, who you perhaps only knew as Billie Piper's ex-husband because you've never seen Lewis, does not date woke women who he believes are being taught that they are victims, irrespective of whether they are right or not. He thinks that it is institutionally racist to tell the story of the First World War in a racially diverse way, irrespective of the fact that 6 soldiers absolutely fought for Britain. Now, I did do check on this. I did ask ChatGPT. Now, I know that ChatGPT is not the most reliable source, but I did ask it 3 questions, and I will show you guys right here what I asked. I asked, did 6 soldiers fight for Britain in World War One? And it says, yes, 6 soldiers did fight for Britain in World War One. In fact, they played a significant role in the British Indian Army. Now, when I read that, it got me to think, British Indian Army. Okay, so it gives the stats here of how many 6 soldiers fought in the British Indian Army, or for the British Indian Army, and some notable events or where they conducted their battles. So I asked it, what was the setting, location of the movie 1917, which is what this article is talking about here, because he said, yeah, it was right here. The 6 soldiers in Sam Mendes' film in 1917 are in Congress. So basically, the claim he made was that 6 soldiers did not fight that specific battle where that setting takes place for that movie. So I asked ChatGPT, what was the setting location of the movie 1917 about World War One? And it says the setting of the movie 1917 is northern France during World War One, specifically April 1917. Okay, so I didn't really care to read the rest. So I just asked it, did the 6 specifically fight in this battle? And it says, great question. While 6 soldiers played a major role in Western Front during World War One, there is no direct evidence that they specifically fought in the exact battle depicted in the movie 1917, which centers around a fictionalized version of a planned British attack near, I don't know how to say that, in April 1917. So I don't think that he's wrong in this sense. While, yes, the 6 did fight for the British Indian Army, not necessarily directly for the British Army, he's not wrong that maybe putting a 6 soldier in that movie wasn't the right thing to do, in my opinion. He also doesn't believe in white privilege, irrespective of the fact that he works in a painfully undiverse industry. Now, I highlighted this because I wanted to talk a little bit about it. When they talk about the term diversity, they only mean it to go one way. And the way that it is basically anti-white, or, promoting diversity at the detriment of white people. So, for example, she says that he works in a painfully undiverse industry. Now, what might that be? Why might that be? Maybe it's because if you have a majority white country, majority of the people in most industries are going to be white. I mean, that's just my guess. I think that that's common sense. It's like saying it's the diversity they talk about is having racial disparity or racial, equally racially diverse a workforce in all industries. So if, for example, the United States has 67% of the country is made up by white people. It's 70 something percent if you include white Hispanics. Black people make up 13% of the population. But to these people, they want 50% of the workforce to be represented by 13% of the population, basically. How is that possible? How could you do that without adversely affecting white people? Because to get to a 50% workforce participation from black people in all industries, you have to skip over a bunch of white people. That's the only way you get to that outcome. And that in itself, to me, is racist. But let's go ahead and continue because that's not what we're talking about here today. So another highlight here, and as you would expect, the whole debacle has lit a fire under anti-woke poster boy Piers Morgan. And I highlighted this because Piers Morgan is very liberal. He is anti-woke, but he is very liberal. So I'm not sure what the attack on Piers Morgan was here. Not wanting to date woke women, far from being laughable, is actually one of the more insidious aspects of it. Spend an afternoon on any major dating app and you'll come across generally white men openly saying sexist and misogynistic things. They might say no psychos, which I don't know how that's misogynistic. I'm sure women don't want a psycho either. Does that make them sexist? A woman doesn't have to say she doesn't want a psycho. And is the word psycho now associated with being woke? Because then that might be a you problem, not necessarily a man's problem. Or they fucking hate big eyebrows. Or, again, my question is, are woke women known for having big eyebrows? I don't know how that's misogynistic. That's just called having a preference. Just like women say they don't want short men. But that's never a problem. We never talk about how when women have preferences, that's okay. But if a man has preferences, he's sexist, misogynistic. He's the biggest piece of garbage on the planet. And so they tend to hold extremely right-wing views. I guess wanting a nuclear family is right-wing. Wanting a more traditional woman is right-wing. Not wanting a woman who's going to, unalive your unborn baby. I mean, that is right-wing. Liberal women are known. Woke women are known for the my body, my choice. But when it was 2020 and they wanted you to take a job that you didn't want to take, then it was okay to fire you from a job because then it's not my body, my choice. You're not allowed to have input on your body when it's things like that. But if it's to unalive an unborn baby, then that's totally okay. And then I guess Jordan B. Peterson is a super right-wing, white male privilege, evil man who wants millennials to drop their obsession with social justice. And that's true. I mean, social justice has been to the detriment of our society overall. Now, I'm not going to get into the remaining of this article. It's just a bunch of trash. I want to go over some stats. So here's an article from Axios. This one was from last year. And the political gender gap grows as young women move left. Now, they like to call most men right-wing extremists today. But the reality is it's not men making that shift. Women are moving so far to the left, as evidenced by this data right here that's been tracked since 1999 all the way to 2023, that men have remained steadily within their their area, their beliefs, they're not becoming any more conservatives. They're not becoming any more right wing. They're not becoming any more radical to the right. They've remained steady in their political leanings. Now, women, on the other hand, have gone so far to the left and they're so woke that they now believe, a lot of these women, especially the woman that wrote that article, believe that normal, everyday men with normal beliefs, like having a family is good, unaliving children is bad, is somehow seen as far right. The crazy part about this whole thing is that even liberal women, believe it or not, don't like liberal men. They don't like the men that represent their views because those men are seen as weak. And this is not me being sexist. This is not me being misogynist. It's not, women inherently want a man to protect them and provide for them. And I have this video for you right here, and I'm going to show you. This is a liberal woman talking, and you'll see what she describes. She's a liberal woman describing what would be considered a far right man by the far left woke women types.
Do you want to know one of the saddest realizations I recently had? Was that as a liberal woman, it is really hard to find a man who is willing to play the more traditional masculine role in the relationship in today's day and age, who is not a conservative. A man who wants to pay on the first date, who wants to open your door, who has that want and desire to take care of you and to provide, who is not a conservative. And obviously, as a liberal woman, I do want to be respected for my independence. And I do want to have my own autonomy in the relationship and not be confined or conform to the traditional female homemaker, childbearing role. And most of the men that I've dated who do have that more natural provider masculinity about them are normally conservative. So I don't really know what to do because I don't want to compromise my morals and values just to find a man. But am I asking to have my cake and eat it too?
She perfectly described a conservative man, but doesn't want to date a conservative man. She even said that the men that she's dated that would tend to do all the things that she wants in a man tend to be conservative. And I guarantee you those guys aren't even conservative. They're just normal, run-of-the-mill guys. Again, I just showed you the graph where it shows that men have generally stayed steady in their political beliefs. They have not moved far left. They have not moved far right. But this woman is so far left that she believes that a normal guy is a conservative man. And obviously, the more conservative, the more of those views they're going to have. Those views, those qualities that she's looking for in a man. These women don't want the men that they say they want, or the men that believe the things that they believe. Again, no man, no sane man wants to date a woman who is going to unalive his children, who is going to want to get married, but the day she gets bored, she's going to say, I'm bored in this relationship, and get a divorce and take all of his shit. No man wants that. No man is going to want somebody who is strong and independent, but at the same time wants the man to provide everything for her. Because this is what these women want. Just like she says, she wants to have her cake and eat it too, right? That's literally what they're looking for. Men don't want activists. They want nice women. And again, it's not me being misogynistic. These are just the realities of life. She just said she's looking for a conservative man that is not conservative. You can't have it. It's just like a man is looking for a, it's like a man saying, I'm looking for a submissive woman that's not submissive. She wants a conservative man, a strong, independent man, and men want a submissive woman. That's just the default. The crazy thing is that I guarantee you that all these strong, liberal women, woke, leftist types would revert right back to their submissive selves if some major war broke out and the men had to go to war. I guarantee it. If something bad happened, they would always default back to default settings. It's just a sad state of affairs that we currently live in. More women are earning more college degrees than men now. They're being indoctrinated at higher rates in college to believe that they are oppressed when they're not oppressed. How can you say you are oppressed in a society while simultaneously the courts will side with you in child support cases 95% of the time? The only times they side with the men are when the woman is clearly like on drugs or clearly a danger to the children. Other than that, they go with the default, which is the mother. The child support cases, same thing. In divorce, the divorce favors the woman. Even when it comes to crimes, for the same crime committed, women tend to get lesser sentences than men. So how can you sit there and say, as a woman, as a privileged woman in a privileged society where you're allowed to say whatever you want, that you are somehow oppressed? Oh, you're oppressed? You feel like you're oppressed because you can't go and eat your babies and call that reproductive rights? Well, that's not how that works, because murder is, last time I checked, illegal. The thing is, they don't see them as humans. And their argument is, oh, well, the babies aren't viable. Their babies aren't viable. Well, you know what? Even after a baby is born, a baby's not viable. A baby cannot survive, even outside of the womb, by itself until it's at least a couple years old. So at what point do we decide that these are children? And a woman decide after birth, after the kid is 2 years old, that she no longer wants it and she wants to have a post-birth abortion, because the baby, a 2-year-old baby, cannot survive by itself. It simply can't. It's not viable by their own standards. Technically, like they say, that's just a clump of cells that just so happen to be able to breathe outside of the womb at this point. But I've gone on for too long. I just thought this was an interesting topic. I think that until society learns to value men the way they value women and treat them as equals in all parts of the law, we're going to continue to have this problem. And women are on track to be single and childless more than ever before. I think by like 2035, or is it something like that? I can't remember the exact date. But like a large majority of women will be single and childless. And a lot of them will tell you that they feel fulfilled on their careers, but we know that they'll end up regretting that in the future. Anyways, that's been my entire video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you made it this far, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.